All right, welcome back to Armchair Coaches. Today we're going to be talking about the news that I think everyone knows about by now, but Julio Jones has officially been traded to the Titans from the Falcons for a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and the Titans, unfortunately for them, have to pick up a nice hefty $23 million cap hit. So there's quite a bit to go into with this trade because it's not really the best thing for the Titans, in my opinion.
No.
Quite honestly, if I'm a Titans fan, I don't really like this trade very much.
Well, where Tennessee is right now, like the whole thing was like they were pretty competitive last year, but the reason they were competitive because their offense was good, right? Don't get me wrong, Corey Davis was a big part of that offense, but he wasn't the main part. So what they're essentially doing is replacing Corey Davis with Julio Jones. But that wasn't your issue last year. Your issue wasn't your offense. Your issue was 100% your defense. I think you had like the 24th ranked defense. Like you had issues all over the place. You've cut.
And dude, that's generous. 24th. Their pass rush was just downright embarrassing last year.
And on top of that, like basically the biggest issue for them was they cut everyone in their secondary. They cut Malcolm Butler. They cut Kenny Vaccaro. They cut Adoree Jackson, they cut a bunch of guys. And
I think Desmond King's gone too.
Yeah, and Desmond King's a free agent. And they, drafted Caleb Farley. But like on top of that, like Caleb Farley was hurt. Like that was the whole issue with him. He was supposed to be a top 10 pick if he wasn't hurt. So he fell to you at like 24. So my whole thing is like you add Dupree, you add Autry, but you lose Butler, you lose Vaccaro, you lose Jackson, you lose Desmond King. And
you have a bunch of children in the secondary.
Yeah, you took one guy in the first round, one guy in the third. Congratulations, and you have no one else. I'll say this: like, no disrespect to Julio Jones. Julio Jones is one of the greatest receivers ever.
He's not the issue.
Not at all.
He's not the issue.
Exactly. And on top of that, he's one of the greatest receivers ever to play the game. Right? He led the league twice in receiving yards since being drafted. He has the most receiving yards through 10 seasons.
He had like 5 seasons with more than 1,400 receiving yards. Like, it's stupid. He was insane.
And he has the most receiving yards through the first 10 seasons. Calvin Johnson didn't play 10 seasons, but and Jerry.
Added that in there.
Yeah, but anyone that wasn't named Jerry Rice. So Jerry Rice had 13,275 yards. Julio had 12,896. Here's the thing, though. Julio played 21 less games than Jerry Rice. So
it's safe to say that Julio Jones is going to play another 21 games in his career.
Yeah, but this is my biggest issue, right?
What they're saying is that they're basically saying is that you think you're good enough to win now.
Well, that's exactly what it is. Like, this is only like a cherry on top. It isn't a guy that makes you a Super Bowl champion or makes you a Super Bowl contender. Unless you're already a Super Bowl contender, he doesn't help you there. So, and on top of that, one of the big things for him was like, I need a quarterback that can get it downfield. Tennessee is second to last in deep receiving yards and deep receiving yard attempts. So, like, they throw the ball deep downfield less than anyone in the league other than one of those.
That seems like a bit of an oversight from a GM standpoint,
That's
doesn't it?
horrible. Yeah, than other two of the teams. Yeah, that's horrible. So, it's not horrible if you're winning, which they were with Derrick Henry. So why are you going to get Julio Jones when you already have A.J. Brown? Like, maybe another slot guy. I get you need more than one weapon, but...
Well, and I get that they went and they got Bud Dupree, but that isn't going to help him this year because, unfortunately for Bud Dupree, yes, he's an elite pass rusher. He's really, really good, but he tore his ACL in December of last year, and ACLs take every bit of a year to heal.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's not realistic to think that he's going to be playing very much or at all this season.
Yeah, or right off the bat.
So you should know that from a GM standpoint. Go get a good pass rusher. Get someone in the secondary that isn't 21 years old.
Yeah, I think they're trying to look that like Harold Landry's going to fill that role, and like maybe he does, but like at the same time, like that defense was atrocious last year.
And thing is, they picked up the $23 million cap hit with this, and so that's going to make it even more difficult for them to go get pieces that they could make their defense better with.
And on top of that, that second round pick is more like a first rounder next year because it's not a COVID year, and like those picks are more valuable. And Atlanta was 5th in all passing plays last year, in total passing yards and total passing plays, like run. Tennessee was 30th. So you're going from a massive, like literally different, like opposite sides of the spectrum. It's literally you couldn't get farther from what you were just currently doing, and you said you needed someone to throw you the ball downfield. You're not going to get that. It's not that I don't trust Tannehill. It's just like that's not how the offense has been run. And like Arthur Smith is gone, and he's in Atlanta now, which is like I get that like maybe the offense will change a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be so different when you have someone like Derrick Henry of his caliber being as good as he is. You're not going to change it to where you're like, oh, we're just air raid. We're just an air raid offense. Like, that's not going to happen. So,
well, let's take a look at this from the Falcons' perspective real quick. Julio Jones is, like you said, one of the best receivers to ever catch the rock.
For sure.
The guy's amazing.
Easily.
He's worth every bit of at least a first-round pick or some very good players. So why are the Falcons giving him away for so little? Doesn't that strike you as something that might raise an eyebrow a little bit? This is a team that was just in the Super Bowl a few years ago. This was a team that was in a much better situation than the Titans are currently in. And Julio's massive contract was a big reason why they've gotten so shitty. They had to cut away dozens of integral guys to that team that took them to the Super Bowl, which is why they've sucked. And
exactly.
And thing is, you know, Julio Jones was playing with probably one of the best offensive minds of this decade in Kyle Shanahan.
Exactly.
Mike Vrabel is not a Kyle Shanahan. And Tannehill is, don't get me wrong, like Matt Ryan isn't the best anymore, but like he was much better in his prime than Tannehill has ever been.
Yeah. Well, in his prime, he went to a Super Bowl, and like what you forget is like, the second Kyle Shanahan wasn't the offense coordinator for the Falcons, they sucked. So it's like, they're like, well, the defense sucked. It's like, okay, yeah, I get that. But like, also, it's not like their offense was just killer. And dude, they were just such a mess. And
the fact that they're giving them away for a second and a fourth round picks tells me they weren't concerned about getting assets.
No, they don't care.
They just want to get rid of them. They're in a full on rebuild mode.
Oh.
And the Titans are not a team. There are other teams that would have been much better fits for Julio, i.e. the Packers, but the Packers are soft and they never go for anyone.
Like, I feel like there was a lot of teams, but also like what I did learn was there was only like 9 teams with the cap space to take him on without like doing a bunch of work themselves on their own roster. So
well, there's a lot of ways you can manipulate the cap now.
Yeah, but I do also understand not manipulating cap space for a 32-year-old receiver coming off a foot injury.
Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's a hamstring.
But but he's also
worse.
He's had horrible foot problems for like the last 4 years. It's limited him to like, I can't remember how many games he's missed over the last few years, but it's been so bad that every year you're like, okay, yeah, he's amazing when he's healthy.
I'm a big proponent of return on investment. Your investment is gigantic with this. So why, do we really think this team is going to be justified by giving all this away and taking this entire cap space for Julio Jones? I don't think it's going to be justified. This team, I think that they got one more win this season because of getting Julio Jones.
Like that's how I feel about it too. And like my whole thing was like I wasn't even mad about the second rounder because I think like the Rams have showed like it doesn't have to be second. Like you don't have to have draft picks to be really good. The thing I was pissed about is like you're taking on a huge contract for a guy that's like just like everyone. I'm not going to say he's just going to get older. He's just going to get more injury prone. Like, don't get me wrong. All respect to Julio, he's a Hall of Famer, top 10 of all time,
for
like
sure.
wide
First
receiver,
ballot.
like even maybe top 5. But like at the same time, like call it what it is. Like he's hurt all the time, and when he's hurt, like it's kind of a huge problem to have. Yeah, it's kind of a huge problem to have basically a $25 million cap hit on your freaking roster and not being able to put anyone else out there.
Exactly. So let's take a look at the biggest takeaways from this trade. So let me be clear: I do not think that Julio Jones is going to be bad.
No.
I think Julio Jones definitely has good years left in him. He's past his prime, but he's still a great receiver. In fact, their offense is going to be it's going to be a spectacle.
It's going to be great.
It's that play action between Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and Julio.
Yeah.
Is going to be insane. That's going to be an absolute spectacle.
I'm really excited to watch it too, but the defense still sucks, and Vrabel hasn't been a good. He was never even a great defensive coordinator. None of his defenses were even like top 15.
Dude, I see a best case scenario for this team. Literally, I'm not kidding. Best case scenario: going to the divisional round, and then they're going to lose first round.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, and imagine that if they do win one game. Dude, like Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 97,000 yards.
Well, dude, here's my thing: is like, do you think you win the division with this? And my answer, and my conclusion is no.
Emphatic no.
Yeah,
the Colts are still winning this division.
The Colts are still winning the division.
They didn't really get that much better. Who knows? Maybe this could be a hot take, and we could end up being wrong. But I don't think we are.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So Julio, he's going to get people to the game. Titans, sorry, but you guys aren't winning any Super Bowls anytime soon. All right. Well, thank you for watching.